Strength, power, survival instinct, stability, and survivability to the environment around them are the marks of some of the most amazing animals that live on the planet Earth. Though throughout time, the male perspective has dominated the landscape and historical records for every version of every tale to be told, whether it's been a tale of mankind or any other species that dwell on Earth with him. We too often forget the not so hidden but overlooked facts that the female in all species is the bringer of continuity, life, flourishment, and generations to come. From the highest mountain plateaus to the plains of the African savannas, females have shaped the earth in more ways than any one group, a group of men, would care to admit. For the male, this likeness to so many of his male counterparts of different species is more than he often knows. Faced with basic survival and instinctive desires and needs, man often forgets or dismisses the significant but not so silent partner that has driven him, provided for him, nurtured him, and believed in him even when his own faith and drive have been depleted. In this series of Protected Tales, I will take you briefly through the lives of some women who, just as the fiercest matriarchs and queens of Africa, have shared a portion of their lives with me so as to leave, often unknowingly, our encounters permanently etched in my memory of their plight in life and how, on the American Serengeti, their struggles and often success have played out in the game of life. Queens of the Serengeti will possibly take you through your memories as well, as we often identify with struggles we read about or have heard, which is what still unites us relatively as species, gender, ethnic, and cultural groups. So please, won't you join me as we get a brief glimpse of some truly regal and remarkable queens of the Serengeti. except for those who have lost their mothers at an early age, or were too young to even have the faintest memory. Most men have a permanent image etched in their conscience or subconscious of their mother or maternal figure. I would be remiss if I were to begin these tales without the feminine figure that began my life. She is the only person in this tale whose likeness will not be obscured by a nom de guerre. From the earliest memory of being a part of the Goss Jordan clan, I remembered the strength of the matriarch that was my mother. For as a child, the lessons are often repetitious of older siblings. But for a young black male, born youngest of 3, the learning curve was considerable, to say the least. Yes, my mother was the matriarch elephant, whom leads the herd. She was a keystone personality, not only to her offspring, but to those she encountered, befriended, and advised, as well as her siblings, whom there were 5 males and 2 females, her and 1 other. As the herd leader, she was the protector of all, including the males. From a young age, the tales of her battles on the behalf of my uncles were stories that further sustained my superhero vision of her from my own personal interactions as her offspring. She led the family in times of strife, wellness, celebration, and sorrow. The ultimate guardian, confidant, and provider. She carried the troubles on the family on her back with even an audible whimper, and sewed the torn fabric of our family quilt together while never missing a stride in her own life. Never missing a beat with new identities, she could easily assess threats and lead not only our own herd to safety, but provide the markings so that other herds could find new grazing grounds of prosperity as well. Stronger than the musk-driven male elephant, she would decide the fate of those males in the herd, or that threatened the existence of the herd, with fierceness and composure of the wisest matriarch on the Great Plains of Africa. The female African elephant. On the American Serengeti, Mary was the matriarch elephant, wise, cautious, caring, and strong. In the hierarchy of the hyena clans, often many of the lesser females, not born of noble blood from the matriarch, are left to fend for themselves, along with the other members of the clan, as equal lower servants and subjects to the royal family. Since the bloodline is well protected and defined, Often, females that are not within the royal circle struggle to find their place or comprise a meager existence. Anita was one of these clan members, whom did not inherit the royal birthright. Thus, her plight to me was foreign when we first met. But later, after time and wisdom had given me insight into her life, I understood how she came to be who and what she was. We were both young adults when our paths converged. I was a young soldier, and Anita was a member of a young female society that often surrounded military bases. Those women who have experienced enough temporary love or infatuation with a male service member to now have a preconceived notion of what they would attract and ultimately end up with. It would be unfair to state that Anita was among the often derogatory names given to many women who grew up around military bases, or other non-flattering labels given by a very crude and unfeeling society. But her mindset was that indeed. When I met Anita, she was in an off-and-on relationship with another service member whom I knew. Our meeting was coincidental, but our actions that led to a deeper relationship were planned and purposely carried out on both our behalf. Early in the relationship, we did as the average person should. We became heavily involved, caught up in the live on love mindset that what most young adults could carelessly decide would be their sustaining force for a relationship and their life together. I had little experience with a woman of older age, to which I have historically become drawn to. Simple actions of a socially blossomed young male service member, partying and friends, and remaining vigilant to family and learning the service life while adapting were my driving instinctive needs and focus. Anita, however, had more permanent plans in mind. See, finally, being tired of living at the lower levels of the clan, she had decided that a permanent fix was to be swept away with a young GI and become royalty in her own life. This way, she would no longer be the lower class in the hyena hierarchy. This would provide her the ability to leave the clan and start her own clan, of which she would be the new matriarch. This plan, however, had two major flaws. I was not made aware of it, and it was hatched even before there was anything withstanding between us besides sex and fun times. I must concede, though, that after meeting with her mother and seeing where she adapted many of her flawed habits from, I did not process the situation with the appropriate amount of restraint and caution that were obviously due. A failed attempt at a catch-em-keep-em false pregnancy and several attempts to insert herself into my life permanently later, our past ended with my transfer to Germany. It would be ill-fated of me to paint Anita as a villainess due to my adult decisions and ignoring obvious signs that we were not truly compatible. Not to mention the fact that she was in a relationship when I met her. As I look back on our time together, I realized that she was truly a member of the hyena clan, the female member that didn't see herself as a royal family due to her childhood and the parenting she had received, and that she simply was not happy to continue as a subservient member at the bottom, fighting for scraps and a place in line amongst the clan. She simply had an ill-conceived plan, an idea of how to achieve her repositioning in life. Still a queen of the Serengeti, though not all queens have great stories or happy endings. The only things these two iconic queens of the animal Serengeti share are their habitable areas, a mutual respect, and a hard work ethic within their respective herds and prides. The lion is ever strong, cunning, fearless hunter, provider, and unserenaded queen of the jungle, and the herd matriarch of the elephant herd, the leader, provider, and queen of the largest group of land animals on the planet. For one to embody both majestic attributes is enough. To do so and remain humble is extraordinary. Hantus was such a person. The most dangerous thing in the world is a woman with a plan. No three-letter agency on this earth can compare if a woman is determined to achieve her goals. Woe be unto he that attempt to hamper or defile those goals. When I met Hantus, she was every bit as lively as someone 20 years her junior. She was definitely the matriarch of her herd, both socially and family-wise. She was celebrating her birthday at a nightclub in the Midwest, at which I was a bouncer. That night, she made it clear that I would be her next quarry. With delightful diligence, while sufficiently inebriated, she pursued me through constant messages via her BFF. Within weeks, we hit it off. Similar interests in television, hobbies, and work ethic nurtured an open relationship with the limited ability to spontaneously sprout into more. Hantus was lively, smart, steadfast, and opinionated in every way possible. The product of a good upper middle class home of two parents. A military brat as well. She was savvy to the soldier ways, tricks, and tips. But this had no effect on Hantus. She embraced her life, her situation, her abilities, and her place within it. Defiant to every stereotype of a black woman, she reveled in the ability to prove people wrong and illustrate just who she was and where she was from. At this point in my life, I too had adapted a bit of a pride that gave me a broad chest approach to many I would meet, thus providing yet another similarity between us. A mother of two, she had known the accomplishment of a maternal pride of a lioness who raised a future king. Her tales of past relationships painted a picture of security, sustainability, and awareness of where she wanted to be in life. This was a rare view for me. Being from the remote South and a small town, my conversations with most women had often ended with their obscure dreams, something relatively simple that had not come into fruition due to lack of commitment on their behalf or drive to see a plan through. 13 years and a good marriage later, we had parted ways. But though the parting was not a happy occasion, it was a decision that held fortune for many others. See, Hantus has provided the level of support that the matriarch elephant does. When I lost my matriarch, my mother, she did not give it a second thought to be at my side during my time of loss. Leaving her herd and known territory to strike out with me to make a new life, which we did for a long time. Finally, once my pain had subsided, and I could clearly see the cost she had paid to be there for me, I had to enact a plan to get her back to the environment where she had become a keystone pillar for all that she had left. See, as within a real elephant herd, the matriarch knows all facts, uses her guidance and wisdom to remember the fallen, seek the proper paths, know the essential elements to keep her herd alive and growing. Without hunters around, her family and friends had fallen to the wayside, so to speak. She very much reminded me of my mother, and seeing how things started to unravel with her gone from the picture. Though many things were not able to be repaired by the time she had returned, and time had taken its cruel and ever-forward path on life, she was at least able to be there to gather the remaining portions of the shattered herd and bring them back together. She endured great loss and tremendous heartache over close family passings, but remained the lion-hearted person I remembered when I first met her. The root of being a queen is not how regal you look, but how regal you act. The truest test is your response to life, both good and bad. This was a regal woman who would not let drought, death, suffering, or obstacles keep her back. Many of us knew someone like this, a prominent personality that you will remember years after they have moved on and your paths have parted. Please join me next time for part 2 of the Queens of the Serengeti, when I will reveal several other queens and their plights within my view. Until then, respect and thank the queens you know, and we'll see you again when we revisit the Queens of the Serengeti.